Live from Fox 4 News, this is a 4 in Your Corner special report, making a difference.
Good evening, and thanks for tuning into this 4 in Your Corner special report, Making a Difference. I'm Patrick Nolan. One of the most common questions I get when I'm outside the TV studio from you is, whatever happened with that story on such and such? Well, tonight, we're giving you that answer for 3 stories where persistence, both yours and ours, paid off. And we begin with something that most of us take for granted. When you call 911, you expect EMS to be there ASAP, right? Well, a 4 in Your Corner investigation discovered the system meant to save your life suffered a critical breakdown on at least one occasion in Collier County. 4 in Your Corner investigator Matt Grant shows you what he found and how one family is hoping their story will keep it from happening to you.
Next to this busy road, Charles Minard is on a mission to bring about change and accountability.
Stand up for your children. Stand up for your loved ones.
Collier County 911.
On December 14th, Minard found his 25-year-old son Chaz in his home, barely breathing.
He had fluids coming out of his mouth, and he was throwing up. I really started shaking him, hey, and yelling at him, Chaz, and I turned his light on, and I could see, he was in trouble.
Records show Minard called 911 at 11:03 a.m.
He's having a hard time breathing.
He is having, but he is breathing at this time, right?
He's breathing, yeah, but he's gasping for air.
Documents show Collier County EMS was dispatched a minute after the Minards called for help. The nearest medic station was 3 miles away.
When you hung up the phone, what did you expect to see?
Help. Paramedics.
But records show the ambulance waited 6 critical minutes before ever leaving the station. County protocol is to be out the door within 2 minutes.
He was trying to live.
Medic 42, Tower 72, possible cardiac arrest.
Recordings prove the dispatch went over the radio, but according to public records, the crew never heard it because they were vacuuming. At the same moment, a dispatcher promised help was on the way.
Run as fast as they can.
Documents showed the ambulance arrived at the home 13 minutes after the Minards first called 911. By then, Golden Gate fire paramedics and a sheriff deputy were performing CPR. It was 30 minutes after the family first called for help that their son was finally put into an ambulance. Reports show he regained a pulse on the way to the hospital, but it was too late. 6 days later, doctors told the family Chaz would never wake up again, and he was taken off of life support. The medical examiner's office is still working to determine the cause of death, but our investigation, which has prompted the county to make changes, discovered fail-safes designed to prevent this from happening didn't work.
How could something like this happen?
I don't know the details of exactly what happened yet.
After talking with us in January, Collier County EMS Chief Walter Kopka refused to return any of our phone calls, stonewalling our attempts to get information. In a private meeting with the Minards, the family says the chief blamed dispatch, saying the tones never went through. Captain Roy Arrigo with the Collier County Sheriff's Office disputes that.
We're not going to get into an argument with EMS. I don't know why they didn't get the tones. Our system shows the tones went out. Why they didn't hear that, I don't know what their procedure is regarding that.
A Fox 4 investigation discovered a series of breakdowns and failures. 911 dispatchers notified the closest medic station, but the crew never heard it because reports show they were in separate areas of the station cleaning and running the vacuum. As a backup, paramedics carry handheld tablets and pagers that pull up information about a call when a dispatch comes through. But reports show those devices didn't work. As a failsafe, if a crew doesn't respond after 2 minutes, county protocol says dispatchers need to follow up. But procedure wasn't followed in this case since the dispatcher waited 4 minutes. Officials say she didn't notice a blinking red light on her computer, alerting her to the delay.
Typically, she should notice that, but it's a human error.
Because of this case, the sheriff's office announced the alert would now be accompanied by an audible tone. But Minard wasn't satisfied, feeling the county was giving him the runaround.
Don't have any answers. I have a dead son and no answers.
In February, the EMS chief invited Minard and his family to a second closed-door meeting. We were told our cameras weren't welcome.
I'm sorry, there's no news.
So we waited outside. A few minutes after the meeting began, a family member walked out in protest.
He's blowing smoke up our we've asked a lot of questions. They have no answers for us.
Shortly after, the chief called the cops for crowd control.
Can you send a deputy for media who's not welcome on this property?
He snuck away before we could ask him any questions.
Just asked for accountability, you know, what we were going to do, how we were going to make changes.
But getting answers proved difficult. Lawyers for the county told commissioners not to comment to us. So we tried getting a hold of the county manager, Leo Oakes, calling his office every day for a week. We even waited in his lobby for an hour with no response. So we paid him a visit.
Do you feel that the county has handled the minors, calling the police on them and everything? Do you feel that they've handled this appropriately?
Well, no, I don't have any information about that, but I'll be happy to look into that and make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Oakes agreed to meet with us the following week and answer questions about the Minard's case.
I take these things very seriously, particularly when public safety is involved.
Oakes told us he was ordering a forensic analysis of all communication equipment to find out what went wrong.
We're not perfect. We're human beings. Sometimes things happen that need to get corrected.
But we discovered what happened to the Minards may not have been an isolated case. In 2010, paramedics arrived 40 minutes after a 911 call to James Luschner's home 2 miles away.
I could have died right here. I could have flatlined in my bed.
Despite the fact the medic station was only a few minutes up the road, the crew got lost.
They're right up the street here, about 2 miles away. They should have been here.
The incident resulted in 2 suspensions and an employee being fired. That employee told us the county regularly rotated crews, preventing them from becoming familiar with their assigned areas. He blamed a faulty GPS and outdated maps.
For some of these delays that we've been seeing, how much of this falls on you?
Well, it all falls on me ultimately. I'm accountable for the performance of my agency, and that includes EMS.
And that is why Minard went before the county commissioners at the end of February to make a public plea to find out why the equipment didn't work.
Never responded to their ringtones and their signals to rescue my son. It's a 13-minute response time. I'm 3 miles away from EMS.
Commissioner Georgia Hiller was the only one to respond.
We are working on EMS. It is a major issue, and it is a matter of life and death.
A matter Minard knows all too well, which is why he continues fighting for answers and for his son.
Do you think if the ambulance would have got here quicker, that your son's life could have been saved?
Yeah, I believe so. You know, maybe he wouldn't be 100%, but I believe he would be here.
The Minards want the county to release the results of their internal investigation to this case. He says he's just begun to fight.
Now, is Minard satisfied with the county's changes? Because they have made some changes as the result of your investigation.
You know, they have, and the short answer is yes and no. He's had several meetings with county officials, and he says that those meetings haven't been very productive. According to Minard, he feels the county is just trying to cover themselves and cover up what happened rather than trying to get to the bottom of what happened. So the bottom line is he says he's going to keep fighting.
All right, thank you, Matt. Still to come, a life or death dilemma. A Southwest Florida mom unable to buy the medication that could save her life. How her struggle with high medical costs has you reaching out, resulting in life-changing news for this mom. But first, right or wrong, should a Fort Myers teenager have been suspended from school after wrestling a gun away from a fellow student? Next.